Okay. As I told you, these dotted lines are the regions which are dominated by the Muslims. Now coming back to the flow chart. Sinhalas 74% and they practice Buddhism. Tamils are 18% of the total population, which are again segregated into two parts, Sri Lankan Tamils and Indian Tamils. Sri Lankan Tamils are just 13% and Indian Tamils are 5%. Now the religion followed by these people are Hinduism, Islam and Christianity. That is, the Sri Lankan Tamils and the Indian Tamils, they comprise of the Hindus, Muslims as well as the Christians. Now coming to the others, the 7% that is left, the 7% of the population, they are Christians. They are Christians. Now they are Christians, and who all follow Christianity in Sri Lanka? The Sinhalese and the Tamils. The 7% of the Christians, they are both Sinhalese as well as Tamils. I hope now from this flow chart, you must be very clear with the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. Now if you compare the ethnic composition of Belgium and ethnic composition of Sri Lanka, you will find that similar kind of situation was there in both the countries. Now, keeping in mind the ethnic composition of both the countries, we can, come to the conclusion that in both the countries, though they were democracies, though they had constitution, still what kind of conditions would have prevailed after the dissatisfaction that was shown by the Dutches in Belgium and the dissatisfaction that was shown by the Tamils in Sri Lanka. Let me read further for you, and then I'll put up certain questions to all of you. As you can see from the map, Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in the north and east of the country. Most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhists, while most of the Tamils are Hindus or Muslims. There are about 7% Christians who are both Tamil and Sinhala. Now just imagine what could happen in situations like this. In Belgium, the Dutch community could not take advantage of its numeric majority and force it will on the French and German speaking population. This would push the conflict among communities further. Now how? That we will discuss in the next part of the chapter. This could lead to a very messy partition of the country. Both the sides would claim control over Brussels, because in the previous flowchart I told you that Dutch speaking were just 59% in the country, whereas the Dutch were just 20% in the city Brussels. French speaking were 40% and in the city Brussels they were 80%. Now both the sides, in the country also, the French had complete control over the resources and they were comparatively more wealthy than the Dutches which were there. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala community enjoyed an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country. Now let us look at what happened in both these countries. Now see, children, we come to a conclusion that, because we know Belgium is a democratic country, Sri Lanka is a democratic country, and we all know in a democratic country, when the people follow the constitutional norms, then only it can be called a democratic country. Now coming to the democratic part of the country, Belgium being a democracy, they decided to share the power among the various communities which were there. And in Sri Lanka, though democracy was prevalent, but still the Sri Lankan government could not take certain proper measures to stop the conflict that aroused because of the majority community, that is Sinhala, and the impositions that were done by the government which was governed by the majority community Sinhalas. Now children, let me ask you certain questions that I have read, and now I will be asking you 1 mark questions. These 1 mark questions, 10 questions I will be asking you, 5 from Belgium and 5 from Sri Lanka. You have to answer these questions quickly, and how you will be answering them, you will be writing it on the on your groups. You will be answering and you will be sending it on the group side by side. Children, question and answer session will be little later. Let us start with the measures that were adopted by both the countries to sort out the conflict which were there. First, I will be reading about the Sri Lankan case, how Sri Lanka win or whether they were in a condition to control the conflict that arose because of the majority community Sinhalas. Now, Sri Lankan government, they adopted majoritarianism measures to control the power by the Sinhalas, the majority community. Now, what is majoritarianism? It is a policy, it is a system, it is a belief in which the majority community should be able to rule over the country in whichever way they want. Now, what all Sri Lanka did, that I am going to read for you. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. The leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. As a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. Now, children, you have to tell me in which year Sri Lanka became independent? Yes, Sri Lanka became independent in the year 1948, 1 year after the country's independence, India's independence. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. Now tell me, which majority community ruled over Sri Lanka after the independence? Yes, anybody? Very good. It was the Sinhala. Now, in which year the act was passed to make Sinhala as the only official language? Anybody? Very good. It was 1956. The government followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. A new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. Now see again, because the Sinhalas were majority in number, that is 74%, and all these 74% were practicing Buddhism. So keeping in mind the majoritarianism of the country, of the community Sinhala, the government passed rules where the Buddhism was to be fostered and practiced by one and all, even by the Tamils and the others, those who were there. All these government measures coming one after the other gradually increased the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. They felt that none of the major political parties led by Buddhist Sinhala leaders was sensitive to their language and culture. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights. Now see, when it comes on equal political rights, democracy, we always say that it is a rule by people and everybody is treated equally under the law. But in Sri Lanka, this was not the condition. Discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities and ignored their interests. Now see, if we talk of democracy, in democracy, every single person is to be given every single right that is given by the constitution. If you take example of India, in India, we are given certain rights, fundamental rights, where life, right to life is the main right which is given by the constitution. And keeping this right in mind, if you all see, the country is facing a crisis due to corona, and this corona, the leaders are continuously appealing to the people that please stay inside, stay safe. The lockdown situation that we are facing, and because of which we are taking these online classes, it is all the democratic norm that the life of the people is to be safeguarded and secured by the government. And keeping this in mind, the Modi government has taken an initiative to put the whole country under the lockdown situation. And this lockdown situation is not to, bound us. It is basically to keep us safe, secure and healthy. As a result, the relations between the Sinhalas and Tamil communities strained over time.